Hi, good morning. So this morning, I just read Isaiah chapter 12, verses 3, and it says, "With joy I will draw water from the wells of salvation." This is a very powerful verse, a very, very powerful verse. You want to dwell on that. You want to dwell on what that verse is saying. It says, "With joy I will draw water from the wells of salvation." What is this well of salvation? It is the deliverance, the healing, the provisions, the grace, the spiritual life. That's what you draw from the wells of salvation. Now, how do you draw? What does it mean to draw? This means to receive, to actively receive, to partake, to take. You actively receive of God's provisions. You partake of everything that He has made available. That's what it means to draw. And then you draw with joy. How do you draw with joy? You draw with joy. You don't draw with fear. You don't draw with desperation. You don't draw with struggle. You draw all of these blessings, this healing, deliverance, life of Christ, financial provisions, healing in your body, deliverance, spiritual life. You draw them with joy. You draw them with joy. Confidently, you draw them. You don't dwell on the problem. If you dwell on what the situation is saying, then you're not drawing with joy. You have to draw with joy. If you dwell on the problem, then you're living in fear. You're looking at what the situation is saying instead of looking at what God is saying. Because who is he that says a thing and it comes to pass when the Lord has not commanded it? That's what you need to dwell on. If you look at your problem will look at you. So what do? Instead of focusing on the problem, you focus on the word of God. You focus on drawing from the wells of salvation with joy. You focus on taking everything that God has made available. You focus on taking it with joy. So how do you take it with joy? You dance around that problem. You dance on top of that problem. In the midst of that problem, that darkest hour, that pain, you dance. You don't stay crying. You don't stay complaining. You don't stay frustrated or depressed. No, that is when the devil takes root and takes a seat. When you become depressed and fearful and struggling and desperate, the devil takes a seat in the midst of that thing, and then he begins to make it get worse. But if you look at that problem that you're experiencing at that time, and you decide that, listen, even in the midst of this thing that I'm going through, I am going to dance for joy, and you dance around it, and you dance. People will look at you and say, is this one stupid? With every